In the Christian church, we use many symbols for God and for Jesus Christ. There's the symbol of the dove, sign of God's Spirit. There's the symbol of the Easter lily, sign of God's new life. There's the Lion of Judah, sign of God's power. And to all of that, I would like to add one more symbol of God from the natural world. The rooster. The rooster. You all have one in your bulletin. You can take it home if you'd like. Now, this is not a complete original thought to me, because in some Christian traditions, in Italy and in Spain, there is the story of the animals who told about the story of the Nativity, the first ones to announce the Nativity. And the first one to announce it is the rooster, who stands up and sings, Christus nato est, Christus nato est. I never knew until I read that story that roosters speak Latin. But it also came down to us in Italian and also here in northern New Mexico. The story of the wise little burro and the story of all the animals on Christmas Eve waking up the village with the rooster crowing, Christus natio, natio, and all the other animals chiming in. But the story of the rooster, or the image of the rooster, I would like to put forward, is not limited to Christmas Eve. Because in my neighborhood, just a few houses down Calle Don Jose, which is a small little subdivision off of West Alameda, there is a rooster that lives in a house about 4 houses down. Now, I don't live in El Dorado or various other places where the chicken wars have raged for the last number of years. But this subdivision apparently grandfeathered in that rooster when it was built. Now, see, I put that in the email yesterday, and only one person wrote back who'd gotten it. I'm glad at least it said in today. So this rooster is a part of the neighborhood. And especially in the summertime, I'm aware of its presence because I have all the windows of the house open to keep it cool at night. And keeping it cool at night means that 4 o'clock in the morning, when it is pitch dark outside, there is not a ray of sunshine to be found. That rooster is proclaiming the light. Now, I have to admit, there are a few mornings when I wake up, thanks to the rooster, when I want to wring that rooster's neck. And there's nothing I would enjoy more than chicken and dumplings. But the other day, as I was awakened by the rooster, I had also been thinking the night before about this particular passage from the letter to the Hebrews. And by the grace of God, I realized that rooster knows Scripture. That rooster is a really good theologian, because that rooster proclaims exactly what that unknown author of the letter to the Hebrews proclaimed to his people 2,000 years ago. Living in the shadow of the Roman Empire, walking more than once through the shadows of the valley of death, living in the shadow of Rome's glory and the glory of the resurrection being known only third or fourth hand by the end of the first century, living in a time that would be as dark as a moonless Santa Fe night. That author of the letter to the Hebrews proclaimed light. Now, faith is the assurance of things hoped for. It is the conviction of things not seen. That's what that rooster does every single morning. Long before the light breaks, when it is still the dark of night, that rooster crows the sun to come up. That rooster crows his instinct, his belief, his theology, whatever you want to call it, that the sun will come up. That's his message. And even though there are times when all I want to do is pull the covers over my head, I thank God for that message every day. Because perhaps like you, I need that reminder on a daily basis that reminder that we are given at Christmas time in John's Gospel of the light born into this world, the light that shines in the darkness, and the darkness has never overcome it. That is what that rooster proclaims when he sings in the darkness about the coming of the light. The poet Emily Dickinson wrote, "Hope is the thing that with feathers that perches in the soul and sings the tune without words, and sings and sings and sings." And hope is the thing that flies up to the top of the barn down the street from me and crows and crows and crows. And sometimes hope can be very pesky, but hope is also what gets us out of bed in the morning. That's what that rooster reminded me of. And the other thing about that rooster is that as he keeps crowing in the morning, he gets joined by other birds. Warbles, chirps, tweets, good creets, and all different kinds of choruses. By the time the sun is finally up, there is a whole chorus of birds. It makes me feel like I'm living in the middle of the Bosque del Apache in the February morning when all the cranes are taking off. Because when one rooster finds his courage to sing the light, then all the other birds do too. And when you or I find the courage to proclaim the light, then that gives courage to others as well. Until there's a whole chorus singing about the light that shines in the darkness, that the darkness has never overcome. The author of the letter to Hebrews knew that. After those opening lines about faith being the assurance of things hoped for, the conviction of things not seen, turning dreams into deeds, betting your life on unseen realities, as another translator puts it. Then the rest of chapter 11 goes all the way through all different kinds of people, Abraham and Sarah, Gideon, Samuel, others who also were beacons of light, roosters crowing in the darkness, if you will, proclaiming God's light, even when they couldn't see it. And then the author of the letter leads into the 12th chapter, proclaiming that we are surrounded by this great cloud of witnesses, just like that great chorus of birds. And you and I also have a great cloud of witnesses. There is not a one of us in this room, whether the new members who just joined or those of us who've been around a while, who could not name at least 10 people in our lives who have been that song in the night, who have offered us light in our darkness, who have given us courage when we needed courage, and prayed for us when we did not have a prayer, and awakened us time and time and time again to the possibility of God's light in this world, in our lives, and in the lives of the people we love and care about. That is the job of the Christian, my brothers and sisters, all of us in this room, not just the clergy, but for every single one of us to proclaim that light in word and in deed. Because if we don't do it, who will? If we don't proclaim that the God in whom we have our trust is the one whose light overcomes darkness, overcomes fear, overcomes all the things that divide us from one another as human beings, overcomes oppression, overcomes greed. If we don't proclaim that is the God in whom we have our trust, who will? Who will? And yes, there will be times, just like my sense toward the neighborhood rooster, when people will want to wring our necks. Hope is a pesky thing. Proclaiming God's light takes courage. But just like that rooster, every single morning, long before it ever gets light, while it is still in the depths of darkness, that rooster crows this world into being and into light. Just like that long ago author, whose name we don't know, wrote to that Christian community in a time of shadows and darkness to help them keep the faith and find honest hope. That is our job too. That is our job too. So give thanks, my brothers and sisters, for the people who have crowed you into new life, who have awakened you to God's light. And then take the next step and make the commitment to be that kind of person in this world for others. Because Lord knows this world needs that light, needs that message, needs that song, and needs that hope. Thanks be to God. Amen.